this oil here is now becoming a problem to us because of land.
Tracking justice on the TILENGA and EACOP oil projects. The progress on the TILENGA and East African crude oil pipeline EACOP oil projects is a glimpse that Uganda's oil production is around the corner. There is an apparent positive change on the road network with first-time tarmac in Bulisa and Kikube districts.
It has created jobs for some of our people. And Bulisa has now gained popularity in the whole world. But we people were affected, we are now suffering.
Nixon Ntakimanye was affected by the TILENGA project in Bulisa district.
And for us, we can't stop the government project because we have no power to stop government project. We want just the compensation to be increased.
The TILENGA project is majorly to facilitate crude oil purification and transportation from the Total Energies managed oil block to the oil refinery area in Hoima district. Meanwhile, the EACOP is Uganda's crude oil export infrastructure from Hoima to Tanga port in Tanzania, traversing 10 districts in Uganda. The land acquisition to pave way for these integral projects has unfortunately been marred with complaints over undervaluation and delayed compensation.
I'm Chiwede Joffre, the residents of Kijumba. There was a communication barrier since they told us they went back in the office to make the arrangement. They delayed there. When we tried to communicate to them, because they gave us their numbers, that in case if you are getting some challenges, we call them, and if we call them even, they don't give us the clear information about the compensation.
He was affected by the EACOP project, which had a grievance handling mechanism rooted at the village level.
Even at time we call, we ask them, our dears, our what are they telling us? Even for us these days, they don't give us good the information, so for us we don't have information. Even for yourself, you can call to do what? To understand the reality from them.
The delayed compensation has affected social and economic stability, as explained by this old woman at Avogera village in Ngwedo sub-county, Bulisa district.
So we need our payment as soon as possible. Now children are going back to school. You have not been digging for the whole of the 2 years, let me say 3, and you have not been even paid up to now.
That is what she had to say as of December 29th, 2021, when schools were to reopen 12 days later after nearly 2 years of closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which too crippled the entire economy.
I am Mrs. Leonia Lubanga. The TILENGA project, when it came, in fact, we had not understood them properly. Now, when the oil time started, I think it was in 2018. Yes, this is when they were measuring people things, and they promised that we would get the payment as soon as possible.
Ms. Lubanga reveals that delayed compensation forced many project-affected persons, perhaps, to regrettable choices.
People have borrowed money.
This has been an opportunity for money lenders whose borrowing rates are as high as 100%.
Umubanta abagaiga baina senta kwa mitwaro 10 n'omuhabiro bokufuna miliyoni okumuha ibiri bamazire kusasa habwembera tinyina mulingo nkusakurolera abana tinyina mwagayi kutunda tiye kutema kitoke nyina kulia roho ne bogama nyina yakasente ni kwa bana babe. Miss Jetrida Katusabe is affected by the EACOP at Kijumba village in Hoima district. Her hopes to benefit from the oil industry are disappearing. Baitu mulingo nkurode sente zinyakalia kuvuga bankwata.
Still in Kijumba, Jackson Adrico unfortunately miscalculated to vacate his grass-thatched houses for a rental at Kijumba Trading Center, being optimistic that the EACOP compensation was to be paid soon.
Namna alikuwa wanasema nisijenge nyumba ya permanent. Saa hii mimi iko mbaya, msaona nyumba hapo yote nazeika, mlienda kwa rent.
Renting a room at Kijumba Trading Center is not less than 50,000 shillings a month. Some EACOP PAPs say that the compensation is low, payers different from the EACOP. The TILENGA project has progressed and paid some PAPs.
I was paid But the problem with the TILENGA projects is one or two. Land compensation is very low. With that little money they're paying us, we will not get land somewhere else. Now the price of land has increased from, I don't know, it is something like 10 million now in Kasini. I made a city.
How much are you being given by the oil companies?
It was 3.5 million. Then some
Disturbance
allowance is going to 4.4 million.
Mr. Ntakimanye is not sure of replacing the land he is losing to the oil industry.
The 3 acres of land which were being compensated will buy just only 1 acre. I made a city.
But the question is, why does one accept to receive a package he thinks is not worth his property?
First to be ejected, but the people who ejected us, but even today, some of them have not been paid. Because they told us where the government is working, whether like it or not, if you refuse to get that money will be taken to court.
Similar claims are recorded on the EACOP project.
Barakubi esete zabarungi. Kanya hariyo musirwe bikwijo baje barampe miliyoni 3. Kandi miliyoni 3 ubwo nakamura mu ndazirenza. Bagira ngo waza kugamba ngo nesete zawe tizirishe. Kale naho namo. Ebicuri nguti bakatwa sete muno mu wetiranda ndaja murahari.
The PAP's fear to reject the compensation packages could have been prompted by the April 30th, 2021 Masindi High Court ruling in favor of the government when it sued some TILENGA PAPs that rejected the compensation packages, demanding higher rates. Mr. Geoffrey Byakagaba is among the 9 PAPs that have insisted they will not receive money deposited in court after the ruling, thus appealing against it.
Attorney General takes us to court. So the issue concerned RAP 1, they took our money in court. But for us, we are not interested at all on money. We are interested on land. We don't know if they have taken our land in court.
But is this a signal of harmony surrounding the oil developments in Uganda?
For us, we don't want the things which happen in Nigeria to be in the Bulisa or in Uganda. We want Total to be blessing, not to be cast.
Mr. Maxwell Athura is a field officer for African Institute for Energy Governance, AFIEGO.
When you look at Article 26 of the Constitution, it provides for the procedure how the land should be taken from the people after prompt, fair and adequate compensation, something we are not seeing.
He claims that it is increasingly getting harder to advocate for the oil PAPs.
Intimidation and harassment is too much for us. In May 2021, I was arrested with an Italian journalist who were trying to investigate more issues. Up to now, I still report on police bond. The case they wrote on bond is unlawful assembly.
Like Total Energy's EP Uganda, security officials deny allegations of intimidating PAPs and harassing human rights defenders. During a community engagement on human rights issues in December 2021, Mr. Fred Bazarabusa, the EACOP land acquisition team member, said the grievances were being handled with more attention on the valuation.
These ones are being still assessed on a case by case and on an individual by individual and a village by village with support from the Chief Government Valuer's Office. Once this assessment is done and is complete, we are going to get back to the project affected persons and then report to them exactly what is the way forward.
He declares the door open for arising grievances that human rights defenders have called human rights violations.
From the management's point of view and the management's response to all this, we are saying as EACOP that the doors are completely open.
Mr. Bashir Twesige, the chairperson for the Civil Society Coalition on Oil and Gas, CISCO, says they don't want
even a single project affected person left behind. If they have an issue, it is incumbent on the oil companies, and they have committed in several documents that they are going to respond to these issues.
The PAPs are also bitter with district leaders for failing to help them. Mr. Vincent Alpha Opio is the vice chairperson, Kikube District.
When you compare what was compensated for land values in 2012 as we were implementing and acquiring land for the oil refinery in Kavale, you might see no big difference with what is being compensated for right now. And as a district, it might not help much because the powers to determine the land values lies directly, solely in the hands of the chief government value, but depending on the current land values. And I think, to me, this is not what has been done.
At the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, PAU, Mr. Didas Muhumuza is the senior stakeholders engagement officer.
The delays that came up, especially with the land on EACOP and even in the Bulisa line, is because of the tenure challenges. The type of ownership, the complexities, the divorcees, this and that, to come to the point of settling all this, it takes a lot of time.
The government has resolved a compensation package uplift of 15% in acknowledgement of the delayed payment.
The uplift of 15% is per annum.
However, Cisco is not convinced that it can cater for all the grievances on the table.
We all know the interest rates in this country. If for example, you get a loan, so the question will be, why 15%? Why not 17%, for example? Or why not 25%? And the biggest challenge that we have with Total and the government is that they make these decisions unilaterally. If you're making such a decision, you should consult the affected community or sections of the affected community. As civil society, I can say that we have never been consulted about that.
For those that reject compensation packages, Mr. Muhumuza says,
it's still provided for by the same procedure. That if you really do not agree, you still have an option to go to court and you put the money on an escrow account that is managed by court. And the compulsory acquisition provides for allowing projects to go forward.
There are about 5,523 people affected by the TILENGA project on 2,901 acres of land across Bulisa, Hoima and Kikube districts. The EACOP has affected 20,631 people. The government has been promising heaven and earth from the oil industry to all the Ugandans. But the compensation conflict has replaced some people's hopes with fear. It might cost the government and oil companies a lot to restore confidence.